Hey, well, g'day. Just thought I'd drop in and say g'day. It's been quite a humorous morning for me, considering the fact that I haven't been interested really in making videos or invited to any channels or anything. And so, but I've slowly worked my way back into being allowed to contribute on the live chats because the moderators are always constantly censoring me for some reason or another. They don't like the things I have to say. The truth hurts. That's what it basically boils down to. So, fucking Cwaig today on his Fight Da Fwat Urf, he had two videos, two non-shows. I said, look, I'm here. I'm happy to come in and I'll discuss anything with you. Too afraid. He says it's like abusing a disabled person, whereas that's kind of ironic considering he's actually the disabled one, and both physically and mentally, mind you. I just am what I am. And what I am is thirsty. Thank goodness here's one I prepared earlier. So everywhere I go nowadays, any of these people that claim to be Fight Flat Earth, philosophical, you name it, they all censor me. They block me. They can't handle serious, real truth. It's Sunday. It's midday. So cheers. Happy days. Oh, that's sweet. A little bit too sweet, really. Shouldn't call it beer. It's gingery, tasty and stuff. So seems everywhere I go, censorship, censorship, censorship. YouTube constantly censoring. There used to be a time, right? Say I clicked on a Globe-Buster's video and watched it. Autoplay would then lead me on to another Globe-Buster's video or something flat Earth related. Now they're constantly auto-directing us to some bullshit fucking science channel talking about outer space and Pluto and all the rest of that shit stuff. We're beyond that. We know better. We know that all this outer space nonsense bullshit is just brainwashing for the masses. It's seriously not anything to do with reality. It's television. It's Hollywood. It's just bullshit. And yet, we've been constantly pushed down that freaking channel into their agenda of brainwashing, of indoctrinating us with nonsense. So I hope to be a breath of fresh air, a breath of reality to show that, hey, there is an alternative to the mainstream bullshit that is pushed upon us constantly, consistently, to the point where even YouTube, which should be sort of dictated by the sort of content that you are searching for and looking for and watching constantly, you should be pretty much watching the sort of thing that you prefer to watch, which is what it used to always be like. We've always been able to watch more and more flat Earth content. So the reason now that there are they're deliberately blocking us from that tends to suggest that they're pretty bloody scared of something. They do not want us to think for ourselves, to know the truth, and to be able to share truth, wisdom, knowledge as we wish, and to search and find more knowledge and wisdom as we discover more and more about the truth of the world we live upon. They're deliberately blocking this stuff from us. Now that suggests that they know something that they don't want us to know. Now, it doesn't get any more blatant than that. If it was just a comedy, something, oh, flat earthers, it's nothing, don't worry about that. Oh, let's just humour them. It's hilarious, we'll just ignore it until it goes away. But it's gone from strength to strength, and they're getting afraid. And there's obviously a reason for that. Otherwise, why would they bother? Why? There's no reason to start deliberately changing the algorithms to stop us from looking at more flat earth content. It's kind of mind-blowing when you think about it. It's like, okay, let's talk about, no, we won't say the hollow hoax because that's even too taboo to bring up on YouTube. We'll talk about something that's just, let's say unicorns. Unicorns is a great example. Everybody loves unicorns. Nice, friendly, little harmless unicorns doing rainbow parts and all that sort of shit. We can talk about unicorns until cows come home. Assuming you've got cows that are going to come home, that is. We can talk about unicorns as much as you like. You can put up evidence and theories and all the rest about unicorns and say, well, maybe they just meant rhinoceroses. Maybe some weird scientist in a laboratory mixed rhinoceros DNA with horse DNA. We can talk about that as much as we like, and we won't be censored. But as soon as you start talking the truth about the flat earth, you start finding yourself subjected to algorithms which are censoring us. Pete is never wrong, just says, it's good to see you, Pete. I know you're never wrong, mate, but did you know that Ross knows everything? True story, that's how my parents chose my name. G'day, Salted Cedar and OB Blog. I'll read your comments one at a time. Pete is never wrong, says, is beer affected by density or gravity or both? Well, mate, everything is affected by density and buoyancy. Buoyancy is the buoyant force or the resistant force which holds things up. So the bubbles, being less dense than the beer, rise up. But the beer, being more dense than the bubbles, displace the bubbles, which makes them appear to rise up. So, but I'll pour some down and test this. So in a moment when I burp, we'll see beer is affected by density and buoyancy. OB Vlog, I can watch all the flat earth content I want. They're doing anything besides altering recommended videos. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you can watch all that content that you say you can, I can't find it anymore. I used to be able to watch flat earth after flat earth after flat earth video, multiple. Now, even many of the ones I'm subscribed to, I don't even get a notification that they're gone live or they're doing another one. I get notifications to people like Fight Da Fwat Urf, that wanker, who I actually unsubscribed to today because I'm sick and fucking tired of him making up lies about me and taking quotes out of context to try and put me down. And the fact that I've been there while he had two flat earthers do a no-show all this morning, because it's only just after midday here for me, all this morning, two no-shows, and I said, all right, well, I'll come on. I'm quite happy to come and discuss things. There's a lot of things that need to be discussed. Things as simple as convergence. Like so many globe heads do not understand convergence. And they say, well, boats disappear over curve bottom first. That in itself is so easily explained on a flat surface. They would not disappear bottom first on a globe. They would disappear nose first. They would go over the globe, and you'd see the bottom actually coming up and going over as it went over a curve. The fact they disappeared bottom first proves that convergence, the laws of convergence, means that everything beneath your eye level appears to rise up. And then that at that convergence point, it creates a blockage point, which obscures the bottom of something that is taller or above the level beneath you. So it's above eye level. So that's why you see the top of the ship still, far beyond the convergence point, disappearing as it goes further and further away, because it's the further it gets, the more it gets obscured by the physical convergence point created by your eyes due to the limitations of your height. Your viewing height is everything. They talk about sending a drone up to watch the sunset again and again. That would not happen on a curved surface, on a curved ball. If the sun set because the Earth is spinning away from the sun, and you send something up, also away from the sun, the drone is going further away from the center of your ball, further away from where the sun is. You're not going back over the curve to see the sun again, but on a flat surface, when the sun is just disappearing over the obscurity point and you go up, you'll see it again quite easily. And the further up you go, the more and more you'll see it. The higher you go, the further you can see. Wouldn't happen on a spinning ball. There's no way that that concept of sending a drone up to watch the sunset again and again would be possible on your spinning ball. OB blog, Fight Da Fwat Urf is a bit of a douchebag, yeah, so I do agree with him. Well, you're a bit of a douchebag too then. He's a total douchebag, and anybody that agrees with him is totally a douchebag as well. Sorry, OB blog, but you've been told, douchebag. Don't take any wooden nickels. G'day, mate. I like that. Did you know that nickel means like you've got a sterling pound of silver or a pound of sterling silver? It's a pound, a physical pound. And if you take a nick off, that becomes a nickel. So you've got a nickel of silver and you have to weigh it to make sure it's a true measurement of nickel silver. That's where that word comes from. So yeah, if it's not silver, it wouldn't be pure. Pete is never wrong. That name was given to me by my wife, Australia's most sarcastic woman. She must be a good lady, I reckon. I had to meet your wife one day. Well, yeah, no, that's all good. I'm sure she's a top chick. My name, Ross, came from the fact that my parents were going to call me Scott, but my middle name being Edward would mean I'd be Scott Edward Thatcher, and my initials then would be Set. And they thought, oh, but Set is the one that kills the sun god Osiris or Cyrus or Ra, or however you call it. Set is Satan, Ra is the sun god. So they called me, well, they looked through the name book and they said, Ross. Oh, Ross knows everything. So they said, oh, we'll call him Ross then, so his initials wouldn't be Set. And Ross, with two eyes, you know, the inside me and the outside me, also translates to Osiris. Just a bit of trivia for you. Cornish laws. You don't really believe that about convergence, do you? Yes, I do. It's very fucking obvious about convergence. Here I can point towards my ceiling. That ceiling is parallel to the ground. But because of the angle that it's being viewed at currently, it appears to point slightly downwards as it goes away into the distance. I could probably alter my laptop more and more, all sorts of ways. Both those lines of bricks, see how they make a V? They're all parallel to the ground. They're all perfectly straight once you get up to the right height and look at them. That's what convergence is all about. It's the angle of view from your viewing height that determines how things appear to rise up to eye level or appear to sink down to eye level, just as those bricks show to you right here, right now. Of course, I believe in convergence because it's the most natural law of optical physics that exists. Everything appears to rise to eye level beneath us. Everything above us appears to sink down to eye level. The further it gets, the more it reaches into this obscurity point. If something is tall enough and it's above your obscurity point, you will see the top of it obstructed by the obscurity point bottom first. It is really not that hard to comprehend. We've been discussing this shit for years now, like a good 4 or 5 years. We know what the laws of convergence and perspective are all about. If you're still a glober who doesn't comprehend it, then welcome. Catch up. I'm happy to try and help educate you. I don't think you're a fucking moron just because you're a fucking moron and you've been indoctrinated in bullshit all your life. I think there's still a hope for you to understand the truth if you've got an open mind and you're willing to accept the fact you've been lied to and you believe fucking nonsense, bullshit from infancy. That's how long we've been told that the ball Earth is our reality. Obi vlog. Wow, what a response. Good to see you so accepting of us. Mate, I'm accepting of anybody. You know, don't get me wrong. I will entertain anybody. Any sort of fool, any sort of idiot, any sort of nonsense. I will entertain it to a degree. But if you're wrong, then you're wrong. And I'm not afraid to say it. You know, I will fucking sit here and argue till the cows come home if it's anti-truth. You know, that's what flat earthers are all about. We didn't want to be a flat earther. We didn't go out of our way to say, oh, let's see how controversial we can be. Let's go and find a topic that is going to annoy 99% of the population and make us look like idiots. We never set out to do that. I never set out to do that. I believe in the globe for most of my life. I fully understood the globe, the whole heliocentric model. When my father-in-law, the Swedish ex-merchant sea captain, finally retired, and we're sitting around having coffee one morning up at his place near the canal up at Ocean Shores. We're sitting there, and he just came out of the many different interesting things he told me, and he tells me, I believe that the earth is flat. And I thought that was the most insane thing I'd ever heard in my life. I was like, what? You know, the cognitive dissonance bells were going ding, 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 ding inside my head. You're insane. The earth isn't flat. What the fuck? How can you believe such a thing? You're an intelligent guy. You've travelled all around the world multiple times. What the fuck are you talking about? I couldn't shut up about it all the way home when my wife's driving us home again. I'm going, your old man's gone insane. He thinks the earth's flat. It took me another good, I don't know, 8 years or so until it finally sunk in. Shit, he knows what he's talking about. Of course, water is always level. Of course, land is that which is above water level. Of course, the earth has to be flat. We're not in space. Okay, we're in an enclosed realm with the only physical plane at the bottom, the physical bottom of the known universe. Everything in existence works according to the laws of density and buoyancy. So the more dense something is, the lower down it goes. That's how it works. When we're not so dense, we're still above the earth. When we get so dense, we're dead. We get buried in the earth. We become the earth. We return to the ground from which we came. We are living in a physical realm, the only physical realm of existence. When you're looking up, you're looking at lights, not planets, not terra firma. If it's terra firma, it sinks down. The only possible thing that may be of a physical material is the moon. And that is a brilliant design to fool us, to those who believe in planets, to thinking, oh, well, if the moon is round, all the other lights we see in the sky must also be round, and some of them might be planets. Therefore, we must live on a round planet as well. That's nonsense. We do not. Let me read a few more comments here because I'm a little bit behind. But parallel lines do not converge by definition. Okay, well, that's a good one, Mr. Cornish. That's true that they don't by definition. They will remain parallel. But however, when they reach this convergence point, the one above continues on, but the convergence point below has created an obscurity point that just obscures it. So they haven't actually converged. It's just obscuring what goes beyond. So when the sun goes beyond that point, it gets obscured. Same as the boats, same as anything else in the distance. It gets obscured. That's why things disappear bottom first, because your convergence point of the ground, which you can measure is about 3 miles away when you're standing 6 foot above sea level. Creates this obscurity point. That's what's called an obscurity point, because it obscures things. You can't see through it, but you can see through the air. So that's why the taller things get obscured bottom first, because you can still see them because they're taller than that point, and they're taller than your viewing height. You get up higher, you will see more of was obscured when you're down low. You can prove this even just by getting down on your floor and doing a push-up, and watch how the floor appears to rise up and create an obscurity point in front of you, much nearer than the one which will appear as you push up and as you stand up, climb a ladder, get up to your ceiling, and you see, oh, you know, your ceiling now looks flat, but you get down really low, it looks as though it's pointing down low. That's all about perspective. Really straightforward stuff. Pete is never wrong. Cheers, Ross. She's a good egg. What will be your response as tourism space travel becomes a reality in the next few years? Surely this will mark the end of the flat Earth as a concept. Pete, I would love to see that. I would be the first to volunteer to be shouted to a trip to outer space. Thanks, mate. I'm hoping you're starting a fundraiser for me. Cheers. Truth of the matter is, we've never, ever been to outer space. Have you ever heard of a thing called Operation Fishbowl? I suggest you do a bit of DuckDuckGo search on that. I never actually used DuckDuckGo. I still use Google, but everybody says I should use DuckDuckGo. Yeah, Operation Fishbowl. Back in the 50s, the US military was sending high megaton nuclear bombs up into the upper atmosphere, trying to break hole through the great glass ceiling. There's what's her name? Hillary Kilpun often is quoted as saying, "There is a great glass ceiling above us, which we cannot penetrate." One of the founding fathers of NASA, Werner von Braun, has a quote on his very humble, plain headstone, underneath which his body is apparently buried, and quotes Psalms 19.1, which basically translates as, "The firmament showeth God's handiwork." There is a ceiling above us through which we cannot penetrate, not with nuclear weapons, not with rockets, not with anything. The firmament, that's actually something I wouldn't mind discussing, because a lot of people like to talk about the dome all the time, and I don't necessarily think it has to be a dome. It could be a dome. There's no reason why not. I mean, the sun potentially could be what has melted out this great realm inside a solid block of ice, which would then therefore make that a dome around which the water would still be melting and sea levels constantly rising, and the earth plates floating in it either constantly growing or not. Somebody's got one at YouTube's trying to censor here. I'll hit show on that if it works. Let's try that button. Obi blog. Why is it we can't fly up to the glass ceiling, and if we can't penetrate it, we should be able to touch it? Well, because of density and buoyancy. You need a medium through which to propagate. A boat gets up on a plane on water by thrusting through the water. A plane planes through the air by thrusting through the air. If you've got no medium under which to thrust through, which is what happens as you get higher and higher, density and buoyancy, it gets too undense. What's the word for undense? Too thin for something to propagate through, and they just cannot go any higher. That's why you have to be made out of pure helium in which to be able to get further above it. And because physical stuff needs a barrier, like even the balloon has the balloon skin and hopefully a camera attached to it to capture what you want to see, you can't go above a certain height. unless you were just pure helium, in which case you're a ghost. Possibly not evil. Possibly you're very pure. Possibly you're so pure you look like a shining star in the heavens. But yeah, where was I talking about the ice thingy? Hang on a second. Yeah, possibly this entire realm, Antarctica is the edge. There are no other platelets or floating land bergs beyond all we know. Who knows? I don't know. Admiral Byrd says there's a whole continent the size of the US beyond Little America. Little America is just like this base in Antarctica. I like to think there's more land beyond, but I don't know. I'm as ignorant as everybody else when it comes to that. You know, we only know what we're told, after all. We can intuit quite a lot. We can try and use our psychic powers and feel. We can use our magnificent beards to feel the truth. But at the end of the day, we can just go off the knowledge we've heard from other people, which is all scientists are doing, mind you. You know, a lot of people like to say, oh, all scientists are lying about the globe. They're not lying. They're just believing what they're told, and they're spreading the same disinformation that they believe. They've never gone and investigated the shape of the earth for themselves. None of us ever have. We just believe stuff. We believe all this information we're fed. There's that old computer term, GIGO, garbage in, garbage out. If you get fed GIGO, all you're ever going to be putting out is garbage. So you're told the earth is a globe. You believe the earth is a globe. You make all your observations from a globe earth because you see the sun appearing to rise, appearing to set, etc. You don't question it. You just go with the flow and you do what you do. You specialize in your little particular field. There is no particular field of science which 100% goes out to prove the shape of the earth. The geodetic scientists back in roughly 1900, just before 1900, who decided they're going to once and for all work out the shape of the size of the earth by drilling 2 mine shafts a mile deep into the earth using plumb bobs so they go straight towards the centre. We'll be going soon. Oh, it's 1 o'clock. We've still got another hour. They're going to determine the exact size of the earth by measuring how far apart at the surface compared to how much less apart it will be at a mile depth. And they'll be able to use that formula to calculate the true circumference of the earth. And every time they did it, they found that it got bigger further down. I mean, the concave earthers actually win on this one. I'll give them credit for that. They've got a good point there. We must be on the inside surface of a spinning ball. And, you know, when you spin something, all the forces get pushed outwards. Well, there's your explanation for gravity, which no other scientists can explain how gravity works by attraction of mass. But if you're pushing something outwards by virtue of the force pushing it out, that would push everything down. That would create water level between continents. So I probably think it's more like a tube world, really, if it's spinning at all. And that's why when we look at the stars, we see them spinning as though we're looking through a tunnel. Anyway, I diverge because I know we're not on the inside of anything. We're on the surface of a planar Earth. And I will read a few more comments now so I can distract myself from my rantings. Salted Cedar. OB blog, why is it we can fly up to the globe? Ah, hey, I did answer that. Cornish laws, why are there no pictures or evidence of the edge? What edge? What edge are you talking about? I used to say there's an edge. Only Globe. I'll try and be nice and polite here. Globe believers start assuming there's an edge because you're still thinking of outer space. There is no outer space. If there's an edge, it's a freaking solid ice wall. that limits us from going any further. That's the edge. There are quite a few stories getting around. I don't know how fabricated they are. That, you know, I always read everything with an open mind, but slightly skeptical of this blue ice, which comes from the war in Antarctica. They can't take this ice away from Antarctica because it gets too warm and it just dissipates. When it melts into thin air, which has me thinking it's basically frozen helium. Give me a second, my mouth's getting dry. Brings me back to the point I wanted to talk about of the raquia, or rakia, the firmament, the dome, and how that would work, is that basically once everything gets up really, really high, would be the upper levels of helium, I assume. Maybe there's lighter gases than helium that we can't even detect because they're so light, they're so high. Who knows? But I would assume that since frozen water floats just beneath the surface of water, that frozen helium at the very height of it would be floating just beneath the surface of the helium gas lamp. And that would create a rakia, as it's called, which is translated as stretches out like a tarpaulin, and it separates waters above and waters below. Ice is still water, so this frozen barrier, because the sun goes around the equator and just rises up until June 22nd, where it peaks at the summer solstice and then comes back down by a degree each day, twice passing through the equator, appearing to make bigger circles as it gets lower, because that's what perspective does. As things get further away, they appear to be smaller. There's a good example. I'm going to use that. See the size of that bloody thing right there? See how small it looks when it's over there? Watch what happens as I bring it nearer. Oh, look, it looks bigger. Look, it's the exact same size circle the whole time. Oh, it's hit the equinox. Whoop, now it's going north. Circle of the sun above us. Ooh, like a halo. Circle of the sun above us would be doing the exact same thing. As it gets further away, it looks smaller, still taking the exact same size path. Bring it closer. Ooh, it's on the outer side of the equator now. It's making a bigger path. Perspective is everything. So when it comes to the size of the sun's path, that's why it appears smaller when it's in the north for the northern summer, why it appears bigger. And if you look at the sun in a lemma, I think I've been through this multiple times before, but for those who haven't heard it before, the sun in a lemma shows that the bottom part of the figure 8 is always much bigger because it's closer. That's your seasons explained. The sun shining through the least amount of atmosphere causes the most direct heat, hence the north or inner side of the equator gets their summer, and when it's on the outer side of the equator, we get our summer. It's quite simple to understand. But because our atmosphere is a constant height and the sun itself creates the apparition in the same part of the atmosphere, which is always the same height, the sun always appears to be the same size. So that answers all questions that the globers can't understand about why does the sun not change in angular size? Simply because the sun is an apparition. It doesn't change angular size because the height is constant, even if it appears lower because of that convergence thing we've already talked about. Let me read another thing. Okay, so you accept air pressure drops off as we gain altitude until we get to an effective vacuum. That's good. I've seen people deny that. Well, I wouldn't say it a vacuum. There's no vacuum because a vacuum requires an actual force. So it's close to a vacuum. It gets less and less dense. But pressure, the very word pressure means press, to press down. So the more of something, the more it's pressing down. So if you've got like heaps and heaps of air pressing down, higher pressure. If you've got heaps and heaps of water, as you get deeper, more pressure, more pressing down. So air pressure obviously must get less as you get higher because there's less pressing down on you. But you don't ever reach a vacuum. To create a vacuum, you need a sealed chamber. You need to suck all the air out with a powerful extraction pump of some sort with valves that stop air getting back in. So you'll never create a pure vacuum. You'll come close to it, but you'll never get a 100% vacuum. And if you did, you would collapse the walls of your pressure chamber, as you can see what they do with these great big steel tubes or steel what are they? Hang on a second. I don't know. Some sort of steel thing, a bit like one of those big gas bottles, those big long ones that you see. If you create a strong enough vacuum on that, that thing collapses. This solid steel. That's what a vacuum does. So there's no vacuum above us. I would say that just air gets thinner and thinner and thinner to the most refined of the lightest gases. And above that would be this brachia, perhaps. And I believe the stars are some sort of sonar luminescent beings above that, in their so-called seat of heaven. They are seated in heaven. When a soul reaches a certain level of development, they evolve to a point they no longer need a physical body. They become a shining light seated in heaven, surrounded by their family, the familiars, the constellations that remain constant. And in cases of where you've got these wandering stars, these are like demigods, so to speak, like very great beings who have got devoted followers. And the most devoted followers would be what we call the moons, which do go around them. You can physically see moons go around. This is what I've deduced through all my years of observation and comprehending of all the ancient myths and everything else. Nothing religious about it. You know, it's not a religion. Heliocentrism is a religion. Heliocentrism is the religion that wants to put the sun in the center of worship. And as we all know, there's the 12 houses of the zodiac, the constellations around the sun. They're the 12 devoted, what's the other word? 12. The 12 apostles loyal. Let's use the word loyal. The reason they use the word loyal is because they are constant and loyal, same sort of thing. They are constant constellations around the sun, houses of the zodiac, the constellations, our star signs. Whatever sign the sun is in when you were born, that's considered your star sign. So my star sign being Cancer, June 22nd, that's when the sun peaked at the very highest point, moves into the house of Cancer, and then as it slowly spirals down again, moves into the next star sign. And so the period of the age is whatever they call it. I didn't come here to make bloody intellectual discussion, I'm just talking off the top of my brain. The precession of the equinoxes, that's not even the best word for it. Anyway, they go backwards. So even though the house, the sun moves into Leo, it came from Gemini. That makes no sense because we're in the age of Pisces. We've moved into the age of Aquarius. Something I didn't think about. Let's have a look at another bloody comment and I can move on. G'day, Ute. Hey, mate. I didn't see you here, mate. You're awesome. Constantly smashing these globe cards. All astronomers liars then. Cornish ass. Not at all. They're not lying. They're telling correct observations for what they observe. They're just basically taking it on the fact, well, you can only see the stars at night, for one thing, because the sun being so bright illuminates the atmosphere, as you can see. See right there? That's just a normal lace curtain window to me. But because of exposure and the camera, it's still doing the same thing. It's making it appear like a bright white thing. Everything is exposure. So when the astronomers are looking up to the stars at night, they're seeing a different sort of exposure because the sky is darkened, first of all. You couldn't see the stars at all. The sun is too far away, going around the other side of the massive, massive planar Earth we live on. Hence why we can see the stars, because our atmosphere isn't illuminated. So they're not lying. They're just reporting what they can see. I need another drink. So yeah, they're reporting what you can see. There's nothing lying about that. However, if you're repeating information that you've had from another source that you cannot verify for yourself, and you can't prove that it's true, then technically, in a way, you could be lying, or you're just spreading misinformation. Like people that, this is one actually I want to get off my chest again, people that talk about the moonlight being a cool light. This is something that comes from flat earthers. And as a flat earther, I constantly have to debunk this one that pisses me right off. Because I see them saying it in all honesty, like on Eric Dubé's latest video. I assume it's his latest. I might have unsubscribed from him too. He's propagating lies about the moon and moonlight. The moon is clearly illuminated by the sun. There is no question about it. The moon does not produce its own light. If you say it produces its own light, then, and you disagree with me, then unsubscribe right now. Run away because you fear the truth. The truth is, it freaking gets lit by the sun. Take a ball. Anytime you see the moon in daytime, hold this ball right in front of the moon so the sun can cast a similar shadow onto it as what you see the moon, and you'll see the shadows match. So why the hell would a self-illuminating object have the same shadow as any other ball you can hold up in front of it at daytime? There's no explanation for that except for the fact that the sun is illuminating it. And that's the end of the story. The cool light effect, easily explained by the fact that everything is giving off heat, which is produced by the sun at daytime. When it's nighttime, it gives off heat. Heat rises. So as the heat is rising, cool air comes in to replace it. Convection, normal convection. When you put a slight warmth above it, such as the moonlight, that just accelerates the heat loss process, drawing in even more cool air, even faster. Therefore, things in moonlight will cool down faster than things in the shade from the moonlight. That's all you really need to know about it. There's no magical, mystical, cool light coming from the moon. That's ridiculous. It's a bit like, say, sometimes you see a mountain in the distance and the sun is set locally, but it's still illuminating that mountain over there. Would you expect to feel heat from the mountain all the way over there? Of course not. So why would you expect to feel heat from the moon? The fact that we do feel a slight, tiny amount of heat just shows how big and near the moon actually is. Another example is, say you've got your footpath on a steaming hot day. You know what it's like when you're barefoot and you put your foot down, it's so hot, it's like, that really hurts. But if you left your foot this far above the pavement, you don't feel a damn thing. In fact, A hot oven. There's another example. You can put your hand right up to it, right up to it. Yep, no problem, no problem. Touch it. Ow! Bam. Instantly hot. Heat and light. It's not the same thing as I think the Globers are trying to claim, or even in the example of giving off cool light that flat earthers are trying to claim, that they made a huge mistake there. They're following people like Dubé, who he refuses to admit his mistake. I explained it to him. I said on my comment, Eric, hey, I'm happy to discuss this with you. I'd like to point out an error in your ways. And one person came on to defend him vehemently, multiple comments. I've probably got to go back there and address them again, actually. And Eric gives his little, how you can like and love comments. He kept giving his little love to all the responses to me, while my responses, trying to set him straight with truth, have 0 likes. This is how it is. Even amongst truthers, flat earthers, looking for the actual truth, get treated, even by our own group of people, if we try and point out the mistakes in their ways. So what hope have we got against people who are so indoctrinated in their belief of the globe, so fully believe that we're idiots? It's proven. It's been proven for thousands of years. What have we got against somebody that comes along and says, well, I think you're wrong, but I'm going to replace it with something just as wrong, or more wrong, or stupidly wrong? It's sad to see in our own community. Obi vlog. Pardon me. How high do you estimate the glass ceiling is? I don't. I refuse to estimate it because I just don't know. There are things that we can know. G'day, Arnold Lane. Having a beer here. That's the way to go, mate. Sunday afternoon. I will be going shortly because in 40 minutes I'm going to have a conversation with my daughter, the one that's studying to be a veterinary scientist. She's working on her weekends. So much respect to her, and as soon as she calls, I'm just going to end this so I can talk to her privately. But the angular size of the Earth only changes by a negligible amount, though. That makes no sense, mate. The angular size of the Earth changes dramatically. When I look at the ground, it's big. And then look at the corner, small. It changes dramatically. I don't know what you mean by angular size of the Earth. You might be talking about angular size of the moon or the sun, and that changes negligibly because that small window of opportunity through which we see it is very tiny. Our convergence point in the distance, 3 miles. 3 miles. Sun, potentially 6 to 12,000 miles from one side to the other. So as it's going around above us, we're seeing it through a small window of opportunity, but we're seeing it go through a vast amount of space. And the height from one side to the other, creating this massive pyramid. There we go. Like I've just made the Freemasonic symbol here now. There's the compass line. There's the all-seeing sun at the top of the pyramid. And there's the set square at the bottom through which we see it all. The G on the level, always on the level. Flat Earth, flat line of the sun, looked at like this. It's just perspective, how it works. The Freemasons knew what they're talking about. So I'm not a Freemason, for those of you who are interested or curious. Never been one. I'm kind of curious. I've thought about joining them from time to time just to, you know, get a foot in the door and see what they're on about. But then I'd be one of them, 33 up. So, you know, I've always been an independent, free-thinking person, and I will remain one throughout the amount of time they allow me to exist. So. Cornish says the sun, I mean. Let's go back. The angular size of the sun only changes by a negligible amount. Yeah, it does. Very negligible. Because the overall distance is a bit like you go down the ocean and you look in the far, far distance and you see one of those ocean liners or a merchant ship. Then you watch it as it goes all the way across until it disappears again. The entire time, the overall size that it appears to you, if it's far enough away to begin with, won't change. You know, it'll be negligible, the amount of size changes. Check that lump. That was like a tick. It's tick season around here. Bastards are out. I was working the other day, like not this week just gone by, but last week I was out at a place called Maynard, which is the other side of Mullumbimby, and there was a lot of bugs and stuff around. And I'm holding my stop and go sign, doing me traffic control stuff, and there was a bit of a spider on my hand. And so I thought, oh, hello, little spider. Just thought I'd go and give him a little gentle brush. And he jumped before I got a chance to come near him. So I looked for him on the ground. I didn't want to crush him, didn't want to walk on him. And as I was looking on the ground, I saw something moving. Lo and behold, on the freaking hot pavement of the road, he's a fucking tick, you know. It's only about 3-4 millimeters, 2-3 millimeters, not 4. That'd be too big. It was a fucking tick crawling on the actual road. I mean, freaking hell. These things drop off the grass and the trees and stuff like that. They get onto you, but here's one. No, man, I was getting a bit paranoid. So every time I feel a little itch at the moment, I automatically, oh, fucking on another tick. I get bloody hammered by ticks every year. 3, 4 every year. And every time you get one, the reaction gets worse and worse. It's not like, say, getting bee stung, for example. You build up an immunity to it. So after you've been stung a couple of times, you just stop reacting to it. With a tick, it just gets worse and worse every bloody time. I hate it. And they always find the softest spot. So, you know where you're going to find them? Under your neck. Yeah, you know, I don't need to discuss that publicly. Sometimes you just find them in your head. Like, I had one right there, squack in the back of my head. Squack, that's not a word. Fair smack in the back of my head. Bloody horrible. I hate the little fuckers. So, it is tick season. Be aware. Anyway, Cornish might have one with that. I think I've run out of things to talk about. But they cover the moonlight, convergence, globetards being cowards because they always block you from the channels. That's about it. Oh yeah, there's some bloke out there, Sean, whatever his fucking name is. He's a bloke. He's like a bloke, but he's got fucking full on tits. I mean, can you fucking believe that? I think Huskins or something. Hawking it up. Yeah. Anyway, I think I've probably left enough content for the globeheads to find something that they can try and humiliate me with. But what they don't know is that you can't humiliate me, mate. I'm immune to humiliation. I'm like, I've got anti-humiliation devices all around me. I don't need to be told anything good bad or otherwise. It's a medical condition. What, Hawkins? How can Hawkins be a medical condition? That makes no sense. Anyway, I'm going to put me little beard collar in because I'm just getting too fucking awesome. I have to control myself somehow, don't I? Anyway, it's a shame that more Globe-Tards didn't come in. Normally they do. Normally I get something to talk about and contest against. We just come off the Wish site just 2 days ago. Still getting used to how to use them. Pretty fucking cool, but 3:30 a.m. Mate, where are you? Fucking Ireland or something? Should move to Australia, mate. We're the land of sunshine. The greatest country in the world. Cornwall. That explains why you're so Cornish. UK, mate. You must be hating life. Life's good over here. Anyway, I might say good afternoon as well. It's fucking smoky outside. We've got a lot of bushfires around today. And bushfires, believe it or not, because of all the smoke in the air, traps all the moisture around here because it's high humidity, and we get even greater storms, like big electrical storms and stuff. And, I'm thinking of taking the dog out for a walk and watching a big electrical storm and get drenched in it. So, loving life. That's the way to go, mate. Doesn't matter where you live, even if you live in a shithole like Cornwall, UK. I live here in the beautiful northern rivers of New South Wales. I'm very blessed. It's a great place to live, great place to be. I only put this shirt on because, like, I thought I better put a shirt on if I'm making a video. I'm just going to be sitting here in shorts all day. These shorts, not shorts. You live self-sufficient off the grid. I love it. Good stuff, man. Hey, a lot of people around here, that's what we're doing as well. You know, we're aiming towards that or getting there. Make our own cider beer and whiskey. Oh, okay. I've got a spare room. Mate, I'll make my own beer. And I could quite easily make cider and whiskey as well if I wanted to. I just have no desire to. Beer is good enough for me. But, that's unreal. Self-sufficiency is the way to go. In fact, now I think of it, St. Francis of Assisi. He was just a rebel who moved out of town and started collecting rocks and started making a building, which they called a church. But it was just a building. And people were like, what the fuck? And this dude talked with animals. That's what he became famous for. St. Francis of Assisi is known as one who communed with animals, which is just nature. He just went out and did it. And other people who eventually overcame their cognitive dissonance and their own brainwashing living upon a globe thought, actually, there's something in that. I might go and help him. And so he ended up getting a great bunch of followers who just came and helped build his church, communed with nature, and they make that hazelnut liqueur. I mean, the one you buy now that's called Francisco or whatever it is, Francisco, some sort of hazelnut liqueur you can buy. It's just a pale imitation using hazelnut flavouring in some sort of wine base. But the real deal is a health aquaponic. The alcohol extraction of real natural herbs, spices, or nuts, in this case hazelnuts, are very freaking healthy for you. In fact, all right, yeah, I'm going to open up and reveal my little cabinet just a little bit. Oh, down here. Here's one I make myself. This tincture has got the flowers of the cannabis plant in vodka. Strong shit. I just took a 15 ml dose of that. 30 ml dose, like a whole nip, will get you off your fucking tits for 8 hours. So I'll just be half off my tits now for the next 8 hours. I can feel it already. You do it as a tincture, it just goes straight into your bloodstream, just absorb some under your tongue, which I made sure I got some. Good stuff. Medicinal. 90% of medicine back before 1930, when they made this stuff bloody illegal, prohibited, before prohibition, had tincture of cannabis in it. It's very, very medicinal. It's full of the THC, the CBC, all the things which naturally our body craves, and then you don't need any other medicine. But if you can make medicine artificially, which people have to pay for, you're going to be fucking rich as fuck, because this stuff just grows like a weed. Anybody can grow it. I like that. Cornish, mate. Grow your own. Make your own. Be self-sufficient. I'm 100% all about that. 100%. Oh, cool. I can keep raving for a little bit because I thought of something else. Something I've talked about in the past too, mind you, but it's worth mentioning again, is the fact that we should, on every street corner or somewhere on the street, something like that. No, I'm still blind in that one. Oh, well. We should have free food kitchens available 24/7. So anybody who wants to rock up, they're hungry, can go in and have a feed. The way you pay for your feed is you do a bit of cleaning. You do an hour's work. You've got nothing to clean, you go do an hour's preparation in the kitchen. You've got no preparation, or say, for example, you grow produce in your own backyard, which you do with aquaponics, solar-powered aquaponics. You can grow 10 times as much food, produce, as you can with normal agricultural procedures if you use aquaponics. Aquaponics is basically the art of having fish. You feed your fish. You pump the fish water up through a pipe system, go whatever around, you send it straight up to the first tank, and then you gravity feed it through a big pipe system, spirals all the way back down, back into your tank, and the plants are harvesting the fish shit, basically, as the nutrient, and putting pure water back into your fish again. So the only nutrient you need to add is fish food. And then you're creating 10 times as much produce as you are producing, as opposed to growing it in the fucking ground, in dirt. I mean, why would you grow in dirt if you can grow it in a pure environment of just fish shit and water? So you're creating organic produce, and you use that as a means of saying, okay, well, I've got 5 kilos of tomatoes here, but I just want to buy 1 salad sandwich. Well, you take that in, and then you've got a credit. So you're left with, oh, well, this guy's got 1 salad sandwich, but for the rest of the week, he gets a free salad sandwich every day. This is the way the economy should be working. shouldn't be working off money. Money is this thing where somebody produces nothing, which is money. It's just a piece of paper. Says this is worth X amount of produce or sterling silver or AU gold, and we will give in exchange for this piece of promissory note of AU gold or what's still AG silver, AG silver. We will give you in exchange X amount of produce, which comes free from nature, from the sunlight beaming down and turning the fish shit because of the seeds that we've propagated into food. So, and that's all good, well and good if we have these pieces of paper, promissory notes, doing that, except for the fact that the people that produce it put it out into society under government, under rulers of our minds, government, to say that they can do this with interest. They are charging. Get that word in your head, charging us interest, their interest, for using their pieces of paper, their promissory notes. So we are being charged, just like you're being charged with a crime, by using their promissory notes. If they use their promissory notes without interest, there'd be no charge. There'd just be promissory notes handed out to everybody, and you just use them as you need them. But because they have interest, usury. Usury? You know what usury means? That means they're using you. They're using your time, your labour, your health, the blood running through your veins. They're using you. That is what usury is all about. You're being enslaved by the mind controllers to use you for their profits. Easy way to escape it: stop using the usury system. Trade with what you produce yourself, with your produce. They can't tax what isn't in their system. That is awesome, Cornish and Arnold. You should catch up with Cornish here. It's good to see some people waking up. That's awesome, Cornish, mate. The fact that you just say you've not used money for 2 years, I admire and respect that. I have to work my guts out to earn money because I have to pay bills and stuff. And I'm heading towards my best effort to be able to do that, to live without money. I think that's our goal. That's how we escape oppression, is by learning to be self-sufficient, to escape the monetary system. Then what have they got? They can't force you to use money. If you have a willing agreement with your neighbour, I'll give you 3 pumpkins for your 5 bags of potatoes, or whatever it is, whatever works for you that you agree to do, then hey, why do we need money? Why do we need to be paying taxes? The reason is because we go right back to the very foundations of how taxes became so effective. We never used to be taxed pre, I think, World War One. Prior to that, there were no taxes. We might have made a contribution to help government go kill people in other lands. after that. But we still had all the infrastructure we ever needed. You look at the buildings which exist to this day, which we can't even come close to replicating. I mean, yeah, go and have a look at some mud flood and Tartaria videos. That's all I can say. Look into that topic, because there are buildings which should not, by today's standards, even exist. Yet these things are magnificent. They are so well built. I could create a whole bloody video on that alone. But what's the time now? 1:44. All right, okay, sure. Yeah. Probably should have had a second dose of tincture. That was only 10 mils that time, so it's all good. Oh, man, gonna be rocking now. Yeah, there are buildings that they say existed in Australia, or exist to this day in Australia, which the English came and made using convict labour, horse and buggy style stuff. You look around, you look at Sydney, don't know about Newcastle, but you look at many places. I grew up in Bathurst. A lot of these buildings that existed in Bathurst, we can't even come close to replicating by today's standards, let alone what they could have done in horse and buggy days 200 years ago. These buildings have been around for much longer than we're told. I've got a playlist on my channel. Have a look through my playlists ones and look at mud flood or Tartaria videos. It's called Tartaria videos, which I like. I just put a really good one on yesterday, or maybe it was even yesterday, which shows evidence of buildings like the University of Sydney building existing. It was already there when these knobs came along and put up bloody, what do you call it? What do you call them ugly looking statues again? Gargoyles. Thank you. See, I'm psychic. Yeah, man, I like your Cornish. You even if you don't understand yet how flat the earth is, you'll get there eventually. It's all good. But yeah, Tartaria. Tartar. Where's the tartar sauce come from? It's obviously just something really nice and tasty to dip our fish bits into. Come from somewhere. Why would they call it tartar sauce? Tartar. If there wasn't a place called Tartaria at some stage, there's leads everywhere. Another thing I could quite easily talk about is the fact that what we view as mountains are the remnants of what were once giant trees. If not, then they're not mountains. They're just piles of debris which have built up and turned into something over time. Some might be volcanic type of eruptions, I guess. But you look at any volcanic eruption you can see today, and you will see that you're just looking at lava flowing, bulging, really ugly looking sort of shit that sets and looks ugly. You don't see beautiful hexagonal structures. When you look at the evidence for giant trees, you will see perfect hexagonal structures making up the body of everything that exists. I've got one just up the road here. I'm going to go back there again one of these days, called Minion Falls. In fact, what's the time? Tempted to. I'm much tempted to go up there and have a look at Sava, take another video of it. At Minion Falls, the whole cliff face consists of hexagonal structures, giant big pieces. Some of them go almost defying what you call gravity. because they're still stuck as part of the structure of the wall. And many of them fallen to the ground. You can just go and walk over them. They're big hexagonal structures, exactly like you see plant matter under a microscope. Hexagonal structures, cell forms. It's an amazing place. I think I might do that. I don't want to too off my tits. Could be too much off my tits to go anywhere today. Anyway, there's so much in the realms of knowledge and discovery that we still have yet to unearth. Isn't that a beautiful word? Unearth. Unglobe might be a better word. Let's unglobe it, because the truth is far stranger than fiction. Unglobe. I think I've found myself a new catchphrase I'm going to start using now. Anyway, good to see you. Thanks for joining in. If you didn't leave a comment, why not? You know, we could have just said g'day to one another. I've been reading all the comments, you know, so just here for a chat and a laugh. Anyway, I'm going to be talking with my daughter in about 10 minutes, so be nice. Thanks, Cornish, mate. You take it easy too, and we'll see you around. I don't know why I keep saying like a result. Results are kind of squashed. It's like an off-white steroid. See you, Obi vlog. Nice seeing you. As I say, I'm not anti anybody. If you've got an opposing point of view, happy to discuss it. Discussion is what it's all about. And science is all about replacing a belief with a better belief. So if you still believe in the globe, then you're anti-science. There are better beliefs out there. So yeah.